It's been a while.
Yes.
How are you? You can put your bags there. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Kiss Capids podcast. Today I have a very special, and when I say special, it means special guest. She's in a very different and, how would I put it, like unique kind of field. But let me just let her introduce herself before, we take it up from there.
Awesome.
So introduce yourself and maybe tell people a little bit about what you do. Just an introduction and then we can have a conversation about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So hi everyone, my name is Navalayo Osembo. I'm the CEO of Enda. Enda is a company that's making running shoes in Kenya and is inspired by our country's great reputation in running, and just basically saying, why have we never ever made a running shoe? And that's what we do at Enda. So we are running footwear and apparel brand, and we're just basically working with Kenyan athletes to make Kenyan running shoes.
I heard that, guys. And funny thing, it's so crazy that, I don't even know, like what made us like communicate and contact each other. It's just such a funny. It was just such a funny story because I'll tell you what, I had heard about like the shoes.
Good to know. I didn't know you'd heard about them.
But just very recently. And I was just like,
I'm curious. How did you hear about them?
No. Here, let me tell you the story. So I'm like, who's this making shoes like in Kenya? Is this even possible? And I was like, running shoes, but this is a very brilliant idea. So how it came up is, and like it's so funny because I'm a very big fan of this thing called sneaker shopping, which is done by Complex. Because I do love shoes.
Now I see.
Yes, I see where this story is going. So I'm a very big fan, and like I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, they featured Lupita. So they're talking about these different shoes, and then this guy called Joe Lapuma, he's very big in like the shoe community. I was like, he's talking about Kenyan shoes. Who are these people making Kenyan shoes that I don't know of? Because I love shoes. Anybody who knows me, they see me doing like I'm very responsible when it comes to buying shoes. Wrong life choices, and I need to get my priorities right. So Joe Lapuma mentions it, and Lupita is saying like, it's a Kenyan brand. I love it. I support them. Like, what? I need to know who this is. So fast forward to yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday actually.
Yesterday, somebody followed my podcast, and I'm like, who is this? I go there, and then I'm like, no, wait, there's no way. And then I go, I'm like, okay, let me just check out these shoes. It didn't register that it was actually Enda. And then I'm like, I get to the Insta stories, and then I see Lupita talking about, I'm like, what? I'm like, the first question that I asked you was,
do you want to be on my podcast?
Yes, do you want to be on my podcast? And when can we do this? I wanted you to be on the podcast like ASAP, because it's just such a coincidence. But that's my story. I don't know about your story, how you actually got interested in my podcast to follow me.
Actually, I knew about you from a friend of mine. Shout out to James, Rosie. So I was just basically telling her, I'm looking for people who are really good with videography, photography. I just want to know how the space looks like, especially people who are Kenyans. And would you be able to at least just give me a rundown of who's in the industry? And the first person she sent was the Kiss Bandit. And I was like, who is this Kiss Bandit? Why are they called Kiss Bandit? And then I started reading up, and then I discovered there's actually Kiss Capade podcast. And then I was like, okay, this looks interesting. And then I went to your page, and that's how I followed you. Because sometimes I also follow stuff just so that I'm aware of what's going on.
To know what's going on.
Yeah.
Were you going to send a message like,
I was still thinking.
Hesitant. You're like, I'm not so sure about this person.
I was still scoping from afar,
And I'll tell you another funny story. Actually, last year, I shot a documentary with a friend. And He's from Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
We shot a documentary in Iten
Oh, wow.
about long distance runners.
Interesting.
Yes. So do you see how this is like almost like fate?
Yeah, I
It's
think
so
so.
it's so crazy, and I really respect this space that you got into, and because it's an untapped market,
Yes.
and two, it's like it's just homegrown. Plus, that's what Kenyans are known for.
Exactly.
So let's just go to a little bit of a backstory, because like in my podcast, it's all about the 4 pillars of life, and we also just want to understand what shaped you to become the kind of person you are,
Yeah.
and how you got to this space.
Okay, I'll
So
try my best.
So let's just start with probably how did you grow up? What were your interests when you were growing up? And just that, what kind of child were you?
I was the perfect child, yeah.
Perfect?
I was very afraid of Bibokos. I think I was that child who would do anything than get punished.
Yeah.
So I think if you ask my parents, I think I was very obedient, just because the fear of, which is also something I find very interesting about how we are brought up, and how that kind of spills over into our lives, in the sense of we are very compliant people as Kenyans. We don't like to destabilize anything.
True.
And stability is good, don't mistake me, but I think just growing up and looking back at how I grew up vis-a-vis how I'm raising my own children now, there was less questioning, I kind of just doing stuff. I was a nerd, I like my books. I'm still up to date. I like my books. Do not touch my books.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think also the beauty of books is that you get to meet people. You don't have to go somewhere to meet people and to meet ideas. And I think that's what I really loved about books, that you just read somewhere and you could be transported into England even though you've never been there, or go to South Africa, or be in the Mau Mau struggle, and like it's
and
like you have
picture
a front
like
row.
you're almost there.
Exactly. So I was kind of just that kind of kid. And I can't say that my childhood was any glamorous thing. I was a kid who went to school and did my stuff, enjoyed playing up and about. My dad was in the Air Force, so I'm very much a military kid.
Strict parenthood. I can
Oh
only
my gosh.
imagine.
It was, but when you grow up, you kind of look back and you appreciate the things that your parents do.
Yeah.
It's sad that when you're growing up, you're like, why can't you leave me alone? But then when you grow up, you're like, thank God they
Thank
did.
God they did. Yeah, because you needed it.
Exactly. So that was pretty much my childhood. I had a very carefree life.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about like now, when it's a bit closer to, let's say, in uni, what did you pursue? In fact, let me ask this before we go to uni. Or maybe it applies after uni. Okay, in uni, what did you study?
Okay, so I studied law. I went to University of Nairobi, Parklands. I always wanted to be a lawyer after watching Ali McBeal and all that stuff. It is not what it seems on TV. Big caveat. I always wanted to study law, but before I entered uni, actually, I did accounting. My brother is an accountant, my older brother. So that was back in the day when you had to wait 2 years before you enter university. Kids nowadays will not appreciate how lucky they are.
They don't understand. They just don't know.
You finish school and you have to wait 2 years before you get placed. So those 2 years I did accounting because my brother was like, you know what, you might be an accountant or you might not, but it's just a good skill to have. So by the time I was actually getting into campus, I'd finished my CPA. And luckily enough, I was able to get an internship at Deloitte. So I got an internship at Deloitte from second year. So I pretty much went there every holiday I had. And by fourth year, I was just pretty sure that I could be doing like during the day internship and go for evening classes. And that pretty much shaped me in terms of who I am. I think I got access to a lot of people who are very serious. And I got a lot of mentors who I would not have gotten if I had not been at that particular place in my life. So I think that was also instrumental in just putting me on a path with people who are high achievers, and people who are deep thinkers. Like they're not just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. And actually, when I look back, I'm so glad I met those people because they challenged me, and they still do in different ways up to today.